This article I wrote recently is called Stimulus and Response. There is not one thing in this world more important than what happens between the stimulus and the response. The key to life itself lies within that space, for everything that ever is, was, or ever will be must pass through this vast and mostly unexplored territory before entering the world as we know and see it. The place between action and equal and opposite reaction, the cause and the effect, the complex processing center of the brain where all ideas, concepts, attitudes, and perceptions are filtered, formulated, composed, and finally delivered to the not-so-evolved response center. This massive, complex, and highly structured control center is responsible for every decision you make. It determines how you live, where you live, who you live with, and very possibly how long you live. Gone unchecked, this complex control center will continue to operate with diabolical precision and dominating force. It is the key operative in the formulation of all past, present, and future events. It alone determines who you are, where you are, why you are, and ultimately what you are. Gone unchecked, it will be the master of every life decision you have made or ever will make, good, bad, or indifferent. To override or reprogram this complex center of sensory input is a daunting, if not impossible, task, one that requires an almost complete reprogramming and reorganization of one's current perception of reality. You are a creature of habit, and all the habits originate and have been formed in this space between stimulus and response. What makes us human is our ability to define reality in our own terms based on multiple complex sensory inputs coming in from the environment via sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. All of this incoming data must be processed inside the brain through encoding and decoding. This encoding and decoding process is influenced by many factors, resulting in the final response mechanism being triggered, and hence this is where conflict arises and distorted thinking begins. Your outcome is only as good as your control over input. The map that you have created in your mind is not in any way connected to the territory in your external environment. Reality is a totally and completely subjective process and does not reflect the true nature of space, time, matter, consciousness, and reality as would be without the source or receiver of the stimulus. We are bound by the physical world, but we possess qualities that are not physical in their origin. They simply cannot be manifested without first passing through the receiving organ we call the brain. Our brains act as receiving stations or processing centers for energies of unknown origins. The fact that our brains are even capable of using this energy is a phenomenon not yet understood by science. The human brain is the most complex assortment of energy and matter ever formed in the world as we know it. The space between stimulus and response is the most important and complex part of that process, for it determines of matter is only necessary because of man's nature. He must shape his world into form that can be perceived as meaningful and productive. The space between stimulus and response is the final determinant in that process. For every external event or activity is based upon that mid-space activity. In order for one to reshape the environment, one must be empowered to go into that space between stimulus and response to reshape and reorganize unproductive patterns and connections that are and have been an obstacle or deterrent to a healthy, happy, and productive life. This control center is solid as a rock, and it is not easy to break into, let alone change. The overwhelming need to change must be greater than the old habits and behaviors that reside in the mid-space. Extraordinary things begin to happen when you begin to understand this concept and put it into action. You will literally begin to reconstruct your world one piece at a time. Your responses or actions will drastically change, and everyone will notice in the external environment, those receiving the stimulus. Some will not like the new you. Some will hate the new you. But most will love it. Give it a try.